We gave a brief introduction to everyone through Teresa Mueller about you. So,
Okay.
yes, we'd like to know what got your interest in immunology, because you have a long history, and we want to share this with them. You're quite a dynamic lady.
Well, since we only have an hour, I'll give you the extremely condensed version. I ended up studying quantum physics at an early age, and I was introduced to at MIU in Switzerland, and I was introduced to Ayurvedic medicine, which I took up in 1970 or so, and ultimately I ended up becoming an Ayurvedic MD in India, and I had some amazing insights there that pointed me in the direction of immunology, and that is that the ancient rishis who wrote down all of this about Ayurveda, their first preference was that we strengthen our immune system, and that we have this immune system, this core that is the all and the everything, of which we can tap into, and that will protect us. We're supposed to be on this planet. We live in a microbial world. There is not anything sterile in this world. And so they knew that. They would talk about how our immune system allows us to live in accordance with the laws of nature and in balance with our environment. And I just love that perspective. I thought, wow, this is the only thing that makes sense to me. And I went on about almost 40 years ago. I met a German professor and got involved with the University of Munich Veterinary Virology Department. And I told him that I believed that there was a way to trigger only the part of the brain that would awaken all of our immunity, because I believe that every mammal must have a catalog of every virus that every other mammal has ever been exposed to since, throughout our history. And he said there were others that believed as I did. So that got me involved with the University of Munich and the development of an actual product, an actual drug that works only on your primitive immune system. That's all it does. Because here's where our problems begin, is when we start to think that science is smarter than our own immune system. Science is relatively new, and the medical industry as we know it now is relatively new. Ayurveda is a 5,000-year-old science, and the greater understanding of how our immune system works is something that I thought ought to be brought up. So when you invited me to come on your show, I thought, I wasn't going to do this, but I think that a change in perspective is what is required here.
Yes.
We went wrong about almost 200 years ago with Louis Pasteur. You cannot talk about health and how medicine is practiced without including the political background of it. And Louis Pasteur had a strong relationship with the courts of France, and he brought out his germ theory. His germ theory said that the blood of mammals is sterile, and there is one germ for every disease and one disease for every germ. And hallelujah, they must have shouted. Now we can make a drug for every single germ. In fact, why not make 5 drugs for every single germ, as we may see in the future? This whole political aspect was certainly something that, our founding fathers with the Constitution knew could be a problem. Benjamin Rush was George Washington's physician, and he was a signer of our Constitution. And he said, I wrote it down, didn't I? Here, I wrote it down. He said, unless we put medical freedom into the Constitution, The time will come when medicine will organize into an undercover dictatorship to restrict the art of healing to one class of men and deny equal privilege to the others. This Constitution of the Republic should make provision for medical freedom as well as religious freedom. So,
And that was written when, Dr. Lapearla?
he was George Washington's physician, Benjamin Rush, wrote that, and he recommended that we must maintain our autonomy with our medical freedom. And so we went on, and following this germ theory of Louis Pasteur, and this entire medical practice called allopathic medicine was set up based on the germ theory. You know, it is still being taught right this minute in any medical school or nursing school that your blood is sterile. Now, we live in a microbial-filled environment. We are one with this wave. We are a giant wave of the ocean of life. How in the world do you separate a few grains of salt from the wave of the ocean? Can it even be? You know, and still call it a wave. So the human genome, when that was decoded, that actually proved that the germ theory was not correct, because we don't have enough genomes to have one germ for every single one. So something else must be at hand. So I wanted to tell you about the germ fact, okay? So the germ fact is that the blood of mammals is not sterile. We are a huge aquarium, basically, with many things going on in our bloodstream. How is it that you think that your red blood cells are able to even, what do you think causes a blood clot? What do you think lets the blood flow? You know, in Ayurveda, the blood is called the river of life. That's because it is supposed to have a certain viscosity. It is supposed to flow, carrying nutrients, and it can only flow if it is bound with oxygen. How is it that it can even bind oxygen? Well, thankfully, all mammals are infected, basically, with a primitive plant that lost its ability to produce chlorophyll and became a parasite inside of the mammalian cell. I call it mucor. So mucor lives inside of our cells and regulates metabolism by first giving us this electrical charge on our red blood cells. I just heard myself saying that on that little tip. That is almost 20 years old, by the way, so you know how long I've been giving this message. But mucor gives us an electrical charge so that our red blood cells do not stick together and become one gigantic clump of blood clot, right? So our cells repel each other, which allows us to bind to oxygen molecules.
So what you were showing us there in the video that we saw is just drinking that 1 cup of water made the difference between the cells sticking together that look like a clump versus them flowing and having that nice electrical charge around the perimeters.
That's absolutely right. You have to, we are primarily water, right? But these little microbes that are inside of our cells, we are symbiotic with them. We have a relationship, a contract with them. We give them a pH of this environment, this watery environment, and it has to be alkaline. It has to be 7.314. And we must give them a body temperature of 98.6. That's all mucor asks for. And in return, mucor will regulate this electricity we have. Because when we are functioning electrically like this or aerobically, we're actually emitting photons. And, mucor also is important for other things since we cannot produce our own chlorophyll. Mucor helps process that and therefore regulates the viscosity of the blood because it is when he is in the small phase inside the red blood cell, we don't have any metabolic disorders. But inevitably, we upset the aquarium. We upset the pH and we upset the body temperature. And mucor is, the carrier of the protector of all of our genome. So mucor acts in self-defense and begins to go through a developmental wave and exits the cell. When he exits the cell, he takes his electrical charge with him and he begins to produce a lot of lactic acid. Lactic acid pulls oxygen out of the blood, assisting this mutiny, assisting this radical change in the pH of the blood, turning us into an anaerobic functioning individual. Well, anaerobic, what does that do? It causes us to accumulate high molecular weight particles in the blood that end up going to all of the tissues and to the whole body. So people are tired, they're exhausted, they are exposed to too much lactic acid, which is the metabolic waste product of mucor, and that is the cause of inflammation. You constantly hear inflammation, but has anybody ever told you what is the cause of the inflammation? It is the waste product of upwardly developed microbes that should be living inside of our cell. Once they exit the cell, that is the beginning of the disease process because they start functioning anaerobically.
I got this funny picture when you were saying that, Dr. Lapearla. I was thinking about, when the teenagers kind of grow up and they start leaving home, and when they get out, you're just always a little concerned because they're getting this newfound freedom. And it could be a good thing. It can sometimes be a nerve-wracking thing. And it sounds like your cells do the same thing, and they kind of go on the road. But I had a question for you, because I'm listening to all that and thinking, in light of COVID, and it's really, I know it's really difficult for some people to remain calm. I mean, how easy is that right now? How easy is it to be calm? But if you let your nerves go with or take you out of a place of peace, then you've got cortisol and all this stuff going into your bloodstream. So can I ask you, as an immunologist, is there 2 or 3 good things that a person could do right now, or what would you suggest for people to keep their immune on the defense side for them and not weaken it through this time?
Well, you have to keep your contract with mucor. You have to keep your body temperature at 98.6. You must. If you start taking your temperature every morning, the minute you wake up, take your temperature under your armpit. If it is below 98.6, you have to start taking care because mucor will not exit the cell if the temperature is 98.6. He will not grow and develop into any viral, bacterial, or fungal disorders. You have to keep your pH at 7.314. And to do both of those things, you have to stay hydrated. So I suggest people drink warm water with, some ginger in it. Start learning to do that. Chaga, chaga is from the birch tree, and that's the prehistoric tree. They have a hardy immune system. Drink chaga coffee. Stop drinking coffee because it's acidic, and acid is going to upset your environment. And get off of your devices, for heaven's sake. You have got to get off your devices and know that nature is orderly. The laws of nature are orderly. This shall pass. You will not die. You will probably not even be sick. There's more to this entire story clearly occurring. And you must not worry because your body is highly, highly intelligent. It knows when a virus is coming around. So, change your diet. Make sure your bedroom is completely dark when you sleep. These are some basic things. And for heaven's sakes, oh my God, the masks. Oh my God, the masks.
Tell us about the mask, because yes, there's been the controversy. Should we, shouldn't we? It works, it doesn't work.
Oh my God, the masks. Okay. Masks obstruct your breathing. That's number one.
I see a lot of heads nodding. Yes, it's very difficult. I could not stand wearing the mask when I would go into surgery in the OR. It's just, you just feel hot, and you see everybody trying to ventilate. If you see them outside, they're pulling them away from their face because it's just so uncomfortable. But you're saying it doesn't really help anyway.
Well, it obstructs your breathing. So what is in air? I recall a mouse study a number of years ago that I read when I had my lab in Munich, and it talked about mice in a cage, a highly filtrated, overly filtrated, and they were pumping in oxygen in there, and yet the mice died because that's how they started realizing there are other things in the air than just oxygen. There's the nitrogen, there's some CO2, there's vapor. For one thing, we must, our lungs have to have vapor, and in the air is vapor, which you are breathing in to keep your lung tissue healthy. Okay, and also there's prana. There are things unseen and unstudied. There's life force, and we must have that unencumbered. Secondly, I want to tell you something really important. It is called exhaled condensate. That is the waste product that you exhale. That is the reason people, change their pillowcases and pillows every now and then, because you are exhaling toxins, CO2, mold, everything, all the toxins from your sinuses, from your lungs, from your throat, from your teeth. It is all being exhaled. And if it is trapped on a mask right in front of you, it will very quickly begin to convert into a mold, growing mold. And so now you're obstructing breathing and you're breathing mold, And I was going to tell you something else. There's a place in Spain, I remember, and other artworks where, they don't want you to go in there because, in fact, they've closed them down because they say that the CO2 from human breath has destroyed these ancient cave paintings. So it's very, very toxic when you're exhaling, and you shouldn't be obstructing that. Now, the other thing is, it is not protective. Microbes of viruses are they're tiny. They're 0.001 micron. So unless you have a 0.001 micron HEPA filter on your face, in which case you will not be standing upright very long, there's no protection here. And like I said, it is part of a wave. We live in a microbial world. Where could you possibly find sterility? There is no sterility. The only thing, a mask will not save you. The masks aren't sterile. Oh my goodness, did you see the video of the masks being made on the floor in India? Barefoot workers, children workers, people walking back and forth to the bathroom, everyone touching these, every single mask. You're going to put that on your face, much less tolerate someone, to, dictate or restrict your breathing by forcing you where it's just utterly foolish. They've overreacted to the whole COVID thing. I'm kind of surprised, and I'm deeply concerned. I don't know. I didn't realize that common sense has to be taught. But we cannot kill a virus. We cannot vaccinate against a virus. We must not vaccinate against the virus because continuing to vaccinate is what has been causing problems with our immunity. That's why viruses are creating such a ruckus now. If in fact that's what's really going on, and I'm not so sure that it is. But
you know what, Dr. Lapearla, Maurice at the beginning when we first opened up was discussing with us, and a lot of people had that question, and I'm going to ask your opinion. Some people say this was manufactured in a lab, others say it was in the wet markets, but you as an immunologist had a really interesting perspective. Would you mind sharing it with us?
Well, as you know, I have run such a laboratory. I had a laboratory like this in Munich, Germany, where I was producing my drug. And it was in Bavaria, and Bavaria has the highest regulations in the world. And I had what was called a GMP certification. It's called Good Manufacturing Practices. And this is a worldwide standard of operation when making something like this. So there are not problems with contamination or sterility or things getting out of hand. So, I understand that there was probably, all right, I know that scientists, they sleep in bat caves in a tent. They study sick bats. They study bats in hibernation. They study bat guano. They're trapped in there with bats all the time. And they've never gotten a bat virus in the 30 years or more that they've been doing this work with bats. So, if in fact there was research being conducted on a bat virus for the benefit of bats, there are still regulations about that. I mean, however, using perhaps a human genome in such research, that's eyebrow raising. That opens the door to directing an infection to a specific target or population. It's like some kind of sci-fi bioweapon. And my professor warned me that this was a very good possibility 25 years ago. He said, this is going to happen. So, do not discount the obvious, okay? I know that we're in a bad dream right now, but don't discount the obvious. Everything that looks like it probably happened probably did. And I just wonder where the regulatory agencies were, because when I had my lab, there were regulatory, people at my laboratory all the time, constantly. I called GMP, give me paper. It was massive amounts of paperwork and documentation, and everybody's right in the middle of it. It's not like a candy store when you run a lab. You can't just go and say, gee, I think I'll work on this or that. You have to really have a plan and a reason for doing it. And this is an international issue because they didn't want someone to get a hold of, pox viruses or something like that, and unleashing that might be a problem. But a virus like this, I think that our immune system will quickly keep on going. I don't think that there should have been any enforced lockdown at all, because that's not going to protect you. There is only one thing that will protect you from any viral pandemic, and that is the quality and condition of your own immune system.
There you have it.
Well, I still want to give it. Do you want to know my second secret?
Yes, tell us your second secret.
So that brings us to that's called cliffhanger.
It was cliffhanger. You gave us part 2, and we went, where is she?
I'm sorry, I dropped my phone. So the second secret is immunology, and believe me, I am giving you golden information that you can count on, that will give you confidence to make better decisions and to protect your medical freedom. Because this is so important as to making changes for our future. So the second secret of immunology is that we have a two-part immune system.
2 parts, not 1.
We have a two-part immune system.
Okay.
And what that means is we have something that's I call it specific immunity. And this is what the pharmaceutical companies have done, is they've latched onto the concept of specific immunity. We'll charge you this much to protect you against measles. Oh, you want protection against mumps? We're going to charge you this much. Oh, hepatitis, how about this much? So it turned into a big money-making operation. And because of lobbyists in Washington and lawmakers making laws, and then people just blindly listening and say, oh yeah, you have to have a Hep B vaccine or a whooping cough or something like that before you can see the new baby or enter the room or get a job, and then people just accepted it. They said, oh, they want us to get Hep C. All right, we'll just get it. So that concept of immunizing really took hold. And if you go back into history, holy mackerel, it is just wrought with problems from day one. I mean, the Jenner vaccine, the cowpox, vaccine by Jenner.
Yes.
His subjects died. Louis Pasteur's subjects died. Everyone dies. Everyone ends up with metabolic disorders galore once you start interfering with the immune system and attempting to create specific immunity. It doesn't work. And it's a money-making, for-profit business, and it has gotten dug in just like Benjamin Rush said that it would.
Now, Dr. Lapearla, let me ask you, because you studied Western medicine, you've studied in Germany, like I've shared so many times, lymphatic drainage, the hub of that philosophy and its birth was actually in Germany. So they approach the body differently than we do. And you also studied Eastern medicine. So you've covered all the realms. Do you think that there's a country out there right now that's maybe handling this crisis better than we are, based on those other waves of thought of how to treat this?
I think everyone is being leaned on by politicians to downplay what they're doing. I think even in China and some of those places there, the government is giving them the packaged herbs already cooked, allegedly, that they're allowed to give to their patients. So I think that overall, the entire world has lost the plot. They may be the custodians of ancient medicine, but I think that everybody's in it is being leaned on and pressured to downplay the power of our own immune system. So in continuing to tell you about my second secret here, yes, we have a primitive immune system. That's what my medicine has focused on. Primitive immunity is the catalog of every virus that every mammal has ever been exposed to. The primitive immune system is responsible for your pain center. It's responsible for your NK killer cells. It's responsible for your production of stem cells and growth hormone release. And your primitive immune system is also responsible for your endorphins. So the better you feel, the more you meditate, the more you know that you are a light being. You have a magic just by your existence. Don't let anybody take that away from you, that you have the ability to produce these endorphins. And it's the first thing that your immune system does in the cascade to healing. So if my medicine were available now, which I'm trying to bring it to the United States, people could take this, and the first 15 minutes, it is their endorphins that are released.
Oh, amazing.
this shows you that our primitive immune system is telling you something. What you feel is more important than what you know. So your endorphins are first, and then the next cascade are your NK killer cells and your interferon and interleukin, and that's why a tumor could shrink in 24 to 48 hours with this medicine with no side effects. Has 88% cure rate for leukemia and lymphoma.
And they've been using it in Europe for years.
I was allowed. I had a clinic in Munich, Germany, and people were coming from all over the world. And I was in the 2 Russian movies, and I was published in South Korea. It was a very big deal. People were coming, and we were demonstrating. Then within their week there, 1 week that they would stay, they would not leave with cancer. Or herpes or shingles or hepatitis, because your primitive immune system works on virus, all virus. So one medicine might be all that is needed. But, making people live in fear of a virus is just, this is because everyone thinks that the population is not intelligent enough to understand science. That's the only thing I can think of, because you've not been told the truth, and no one is talking to you like this, right? No one understands this.
It's amazing, Dr. Lapearla, because I was thinking about Suzanne Somers when she wrote her book, when she had cancer, and she went to Germany to be treated, exactly as you said, because they take regard to the lymphatic system on a different level than what she ever saw here. And for that reason, when she came back, she tried to put it at a layperson's level to educate the American public through her book, that she says, I was treated for cancer without using chemo and radiation, but doing it the natural way, and with science behind it too, in those labs that they have there in Germany. And of course, those who have the finances to do so still go there today. And it's just amazing that we have you here to get on the phone and speak with us, that yes, we are capable, intelligent human beings. We can understand information when it's handed to us, and that was half the battle, because the information wasn't getting to us. It's hard enough getting it into the medical schools, teaching lymphology. I remember it was the smallest chapter in the anatomy physiology books for the longest time. We've had to really fight and work hard for every inch of press that we have in the anatomy physiology books today. And if you don't have anything written about it, then how do future doctors have anything to refer to and strengthen our I would even say our medical immunity, if you want to call it that, in the whole program?
Well, that's what we're experiencing right now. You'll notice that every expert that has taken the podium is saying the exact same thing, because they all went to the exact same schools and the exact same thinking, and they believe the blood is sterile and that this virus is going to get you, But we are in a wave. We are in a viral suit every minute of every day. To attempt to be sterile is going to lead you to a place where you're going to grow mold. Mucor isn't going to like it. And the fear and the stress is exactly like I told you the other day. Of course, we're having a cascade of cortisol and lactic acid. And there's only one place to get that, and that's by your own perception of reality. So you have to look at differently, a different perspective, know that this is an outrageous comedy being enacted, and this is a power play for your medical freedom and for all of your other freedoms. And I think that we need to stop to it and bring out the truth about how you're.
So Dr. Lapearla, right now, because we have some states that are, my state, Michigan, we're in timeout till May 28th is what I was told, possibly June the 7th. Do you feel it's in our best interest to get outside and get that fresh air? And what would you say as an immunologist to people?
I would say that the most healing things you could possibly do are the sunshine, deep breathing and deep exhaling, walking, hiking, eating simple. Do not consume any alcohol or other no beverages except water, warm water with ginger in it, and you will be just like, you'll feel better than you've ever felt before. Squeeze a lemon into the water and drink that. That's like really great for you. But allowing yourself to be bullied by people that do not know what they're doing. I can understand what they're doing because I've run a lab and I've worked in these circles with these, you know, immensely powerful individuals and organizations. And let me remind you, they're the same organizations that have failed to create a drug like I have. Why didn't they, with all their money and resources and experts, create something that would be a true quantum leap in the evolution of medicine for mankind? Why didn't they do that? Because they don't want to do that. They want to hang on to this vaccine schedule and try to enforce it on everyone. And to turn everyone into a patient, so that you'll be a patient. But you have to take charge of your own health. You have got the most spectacular immune system. It's better than a fancy car, and you just have to learn how to take care of it and how to drive it and how to honor these microbes. They're the magical part of yourself. They can develop upward and they can develop backward and re-enter the cell, and that's a part of the magical aspect of your own being. You see.
Dr. Lapearla, I had two questions. One is that now that they're looking at what they're finding in the cadavers, sadly, those who have passed from COVID, those who've been intubated, what is it that they're seeing that is the ultimate cause of death?
Oh, for the living, they're probably seeing Aspergillus nigrobacterium, which is black mold.
Black mold.
Because they're looking at a cadaver that had an infection. Of course, it's going to be black, and it's going to develop into Aspergillus nigrobacterium. So what happens is that this microbe, Mucor has a counterpart, and his counterpart is Aspergillus, black mold. And when a person dies, Mucor consumes the hemoglobin in the cell and emerges as full-blown Aspergillus black mold. So that's what they're really seeing. They're not, if they didn't do Koch's postulates, then they're just making me laugh. Oh my God, it's the dark ages of medicine, and someone needs to come forth and redirect, because this is neurotic. Everything that's occurring is neurotic. And makes no sense. There's no way that you're going to, you cannot be vaccinated against a virus because they are ever changing, just like the microbe that comes out of the cell. They're ever changing. And, you know how it is. They try to develop a virus or a vaccine for the flu shot, but next year it's a different.
So, Dr. Lapearla, do you think, now for the ones that have survived the COVID and they had all that chest congestion, and now they're mending and they're beyond the infectious state, because I've actually had a student of mine call me from Georgia. She and her entire family had COVID. Now, after the initial infectious point, they were using manual lymphatic drainage, the gentle massage technique that I teach, and they said that it did help to break up the congestion and help them to heal more quickly. That's what they said they saw in the lab work. But I just want to get your perspective on it as an immunologist. Would you recommend a light massage like manual lymphatic drainage to help boost the immune system after it's been through something like that?
Well, certainly that's one of the practices a person should have. You have to keep your immune system moving, sitting in a sauna, light massage. What I'm recommending, and early on in this, I did see or hear of a couple of people who had developed some very, very strange symptoms. And I just made an assumption, since they had just come back from the heart of the pandemic, that they may have something. And I sent over what I felt would be the obvious developmental microbial forms of Mucor. I gave them aspergillus, and then I gave them, another remedy. These are from Germany. And so I'm offering that for, since then, just so many people have gotten it for, their own protection, just to feel better, because they will certainly produce NK killer cells and reduce inflammation. And that is what helps you get mucor back in the cell. And so I am offering, a few phone consultations, and then I can send people my kit. But they can take that and reduce the higher developmental microbes. In other words, you're reducing them. Did I make myself clear that the microbe comes out of the cell and keeps developing into all these diseases, but it is still that microbe? And if we say it's strep and staph, and we address strep and staph, the whole thing breaks back down, and the microbe enters the cell again. And that happens within a few hours.
That is so amazing. And you have, if they were interested to get the product that you have, how would they contact you, Dr. Lapearla?
You can give people my email address. It's Lapearla, PLAPERLA @AOL.com. And they can let me know if they would like to have a phone consultation, and then I'll just send them the two products, and then they can let me know how they're doing.
Absolutely. I would love to have you do my my live blood analysis. I talk about that in my classes. And just for a moment, because I know that's part of what guides you as an immunologist, and it's a very different thing than just having a stick and a blood draw at a regular physician's office and then sent off to the lab somewhere. Could you explain how that process, a live blood analysis, helps you glean the information that you need and how it's different?
Well, it's real time. It's immediate. You take that drop of blood, you put it under the slide, under this special microscope, and then you can see what I am telling you right now. You can see the red blood cells. You can see all of the other microbial forms, and you can see all of the other, aspects that may have developed in the blood, and and I know anyway what those mean, and how, what disease. It's usually what the person presents with. It's like, well, here we go. Here it is right here. And then I have a test that I do where I will put the medicines directly on the blood slide, and then they'll get to see for themselves. It's a great visual to see their own blood and how their own blood interacts with these remedies or these different microbes. It's all microbes. It's all getting the microbes to talk to each other, to make peace with them. We cannot kill them. We cannot kill them. They are eternal. They are eternal. They've solved the problem of survival by learning how to change. They change from one form to the other. That's why I call it pleomorphism. So the microbes change from viral forms to bacterial forms to fungal forms, and they give rise to every disease known to man. So if we know how to tame them, they're like exotic pets. If we can herd them back into the cell, then we can reduce all of the evidence of the disease process.
Dr. Perla, with the COVID, because people have been asking about salt, and I am a fan of salt, but how about in the form of a neti pod, or maybe versus a salt therapy room that's without a wet agent? What do you think about salt in this upper respiratory illness?
Well, I don't like neti pots. I know they're an ancient thing and everybody's doing it, but I don't like neti pots. I would prefer if you have these medicines that I give you, you can put those up your nose and they will completely clear out your sinuses all the way to the top of your head immediately, just about. I would probably tell someone to put a little bit of oil up their nose, like a couple of drops of warm, even olive oil or coconut oil, and and then take a shower, and then all that steam will let things start coming out of the nose. But I don't like neti pots. As far as salt is concerned, salt rooms are wonderful. Oh my goodness, they're just wonderful. And I've had that before. You can buy all those salt bricks and literally make a, put it in your infrared sauna and make a little chamber. It's very, very healing for the lungs to breathe hot salt like that.
So I'm just looking out at everyone. Has everyone seen a salt room or been to a salt room, a salt cave in your area? Yes, I know in our New Jersey class, we took the whole class to the salt therapy room, not a mile down the street from the school. But in that instance, it's ground. The salt is ground in very fine particles. It's blown out a halo generator. So when you inhale, it goes right up into the sinus cavity, but it's not wet. It's not like a neti pot. And
exactly.
A lot of people,
it's much better.
I think after this, we're all going to have one built in our house. I hear they're around $2,000 to make a salt room in your house.
Oh, okay. That sounds wonderful, though, to spray it out like that. I had, I put one together with using a far infrared sauna and lining it with bricks. And then I think I put a tube of an oxygen tank in there and turned the oxygen a little bit, and it was warm. And I could feel that I was getting that salt breath. But if they have a machine for that, that just sounds so innovative. This sort of thing is much more healing than being a patient. Who wants to be a patient? This information is to empower you so that you do not surrender and become a patient. You know how to take care of your body. And you just have to take responsibility for your own health. Obviously, if we have to deal with people that are misleading us, so you have no choice but to inform yourself and take care.
Yeah, you know what, Dr. Lapearla, would you mind, could you take a few questions this evening?
Oh, sure, of course I will.
Because I see some messages here. So, hey, everyone, I'm going to unmute you. And we may hear a chorus of animals chime in the background as we do, but we want to take some of your questions. All right. So who has a question for Dr. Lapearla? There's Maurice. Okay, Maurice, tell us.
Several things. Dr. Lapearla helped me with fungal lung disease. I had a house, I had 167,000 aspergillus in the air, and had aspergillus in my lungs. She saw the sputum thing with the actual fruiting bodies. One, I've thought for a long time that all the sauna remedies are orchestrating the innate immune system. That's the immune system that's been around as long as any animal has been around in the world. And that's what you're doing. And we know in allopathic medicine now that we're not sterile. We know that we're like a factory, and our body works with organisms on us and in us, and we can't be healthy unless those are all working in unison. The other thing was, she's right, you should get out and get some sunlight. You should get some exercise. Water is the best thing to drink. 97.6 in the axilla is 98.6 in the throat. What are some other things? So, and she's right. If you don't go with medical politics now dictates what insurance pays, what the government pays, and whether you have a license or not. So you can heal people all you want, but if you're not doing it by the party line, socialist party line or communist party line or whatever, you can be kicked right out.
You know, Maurice, just before we came on the show, my brother's in Tampa and he wanted to fly up to Michigan. And he says, I just been told that I'm going to have to take a vaccine. And I said, vaccine of what? For what? We don't have vaccine for COVID. So what are you taking this vaccine for?
Yeah.
So yeah, you two, we must put you two together. You have a lot. I think we're all of the same mind. Michelle, did you also have a question?
He has a choice to make that decision himself. You know, who's to take that decision away from him?
Exactly. I'm like, no one's given me a vaccine without my knowing what's in it and what reason.
Yeah.
Some people are giving the BCG, Bacillus calmette-guerin TB vaccine, which is something that does help probably with the innate immune system. Used in a lot of countries, but you can't even get it here.
He just has to drive up to see you. He just can't get on a plane.
I have a question. If you could share the email address again, I didn't get it while her email. If you could type in the chat box.
Oh, I
Please.
sure can. Dr. Lapearla, I'm going to put your email in the chat box for them to be able to
That's
correspond.
fine.
So it's
That's fine.
PLAPERLA@AOL.com.
That didn't sound right.
The temperature, how does one get one's temperature up to 98.6 if they normally have a low body temperature? What can they do?
Water.
Iodine.
Not nice, right? Ice is something that people should really eliminate from, the concept that you're supposed to be eating all these icy foods and putting ice in your drinks and lowering your body temperature, and it's causing you to have your thyroid has to overwork to heat up that material so that it can absorb it. And we're exposed to so much radiation now. I see so many people with a lower functioning thyroid. So it's your thyroid that regulates, it's your thermal regulation, and it's your thyroid that regulates your body temperature, generally speaking. You can do an awful lot of things once you start exercising and moving and hiking and drinking fresh water and spending a lot of time in the sunshine and the fresh air. Your body temperature will start, your metabolic system starts to regulate itself. But if you need to get that taken care of.
Okay, thank you.
And
Any thoughts on bioidentical iodine for the thyroid?
Iodine is something that a lot of people need, and just be real careful with it because some people are allergic to it. Iodine can really, help you along. Selenium really helps you along, and the bioselenium is wonderful. That really is helpful for the thyroid.
Dr. Lapearla, let me chime in on this one because we had been looking at studies on HIV populations around the world. And I know a South African doctor that lives in South Florida, and he was one of the department heads for HIV. This is what he said, that the disease does not progress into AIDS as quickly in Africa as it does in the United States. And for a while, they were wondering the reason why. And when it came back, they figured that there's more selenium in the soil. We're nutrient deplete in this country. But there in the soil is more fertile, and the foods that are grown in it has selenium, which is a strengthener for the immune system.
There you go.
So you would agree with that?
I would agree with that. We have to take back our medical freedom and our choices and get everybody out of our business and start growing a garden, turn off the electronics, say no to all the propaganda. I mean, you do not have to have 30 feet of video equipment threaded up your rectum to see if they can find anything. That has to do with people that think the blood is sterile. That's like going to a travel agent that thinks the earth is flat. God knows where you're going to end up, right? You don't want to be patient. You need to learn this information. You need to understand how to manage these exotic pets that exist in your own red blood cells that help you remain aerobic. Oxygen is your power shield. If you are aerobic and your body temperature is up and your all of it works together, if those three things are working, you are not going to get anything ever.
Dr. Lapearla, I have a question about water. What's your water source? Where do you get your drinking water from?
Well, all of my different filters are not that great anymore. So I've been buying my water at there's a place here where I live that brings in spring water from a natural source, and so I'll get that spring water, and then I'll switch off and I'll go to another store that has a machine that produces. They have a lot of filters in their water, so I drink both of those. Ideally, I would do things. I'm going to be doing things differently when I get set up again. But an alkaline water is really important. Your water has to be in glass. Plastic is just really, you cannot even hardly taste the water when it's in plastic. Your water has to be in glass. And by the way, when I was in that Russian movie about the water, oh my goodness, I learned so much. Water is one of the aliens of this planet, really. It has this ability to change, from a gas to a liquid, and it has the ability to self-regulate itself, to clean itself. You're seeing that right now. Once people get out of the way, water is starting to clean itself.
It does. It's amazing.
Yeah, and so
Is drinking water with the 9.0 alkalinity too high?
sorry, what?
Is alkalinity at 9.0 too high?
Not for once a day use, but you can drink alkaline water that high. Why not?
That's okay. So Jen, she says if you can drink it that high, you're fine.
Yeah.
We got a question from Michelle too. Michelle was asking about, do you think that essential oils play a role in prevention?
Essential oils are, they're from the trees, right? They're from the plants. They have their own healing areas. Just you need to take note that essential oils, many of them can alter your hormones a bit. So pay attention to that. Like I don't usually give men or little boys lavender and things like that. But so pay attention and look up, which ones affect your hormones, just so you have that information. But my goodness, when you have the cinnamon and that type of essential oils are just so antiviral. Cinnamon is so antiviral, and clove is very antiviral.
Yes, I know they used it in dentistry, the pure clove oil.
For sure, and so many of them are. So, essential oils are far better than, oh gosh, don't let me start on this hand sanitizers, okay? You just cannot be, washing your hands is adequate. You cannot be using all that alcohol and all these chemicals, because that's disturbing those natural organisms on the skin that Maurice mentioned. We have them outside of our body. You can't be scrubbing all that off, right?
Exactly. Chelsea also had a question, and it kind of goes back to what we were talking about, the plastic in the bottle. Do you feel that all of us have, or that we have a small amount of plastic in our blood and immune system? That's a really good question. Because so many people do drink from bottles that are plastic. We want to get the real answer. Is there plastic in our systems?
I don't know. I think that if they were studying cadavers, maybe they should look at the tissues and do tissue samples. That's not something I've ever seen in the blood, but you would probably maybe not have pieces of plastic, but maybe you would have the chemicals from the plastic. Definitely. They're definitely having an impact on, they're having an impact. And whenever you can use glass for your water, you really ought to go that route.
Also, they were asking, what are your feelings on Himalayan salt lamps or dry salt inhalers?
That's what we were just talking about. I just think it's wonderful. They're just so wonderful. We're so lucky. Wow.
Yeah, I like the salt I've never used a salt inhaler, but I've only done it as close as going into the salt room. Which,
You know, in Austria, there's a big salt mine, and that was a whole big deal about, back in history about it was the salt. Everybody was into the salt, who got to control the salt and everything. I went into those salt mines there, and wow, it is just such a wonderful way to breathe. And I was reading these historical documents that said people never got sick that worked in the salt mines.
that's what I had seen in that research over in Russia and Poland. They weren't sick with upper respiratory, and they lived longer than their counterparts in other types of mines. So, now, there was a good question too. Someone asked about the colloidal silver spray, and the jury's a little out on that one. What are your thoughts about using colloidal silver inhalers?
Look, colloidal silver, in my opinion, in my observation, not my opinion, it's wonderful for like a Band-Aid or for small wounds and small cuts. But I don't think that colloidal silver is strong enough to really change the environment so that the microbes back down. So I don't use a lot of colloidal silver because I have all these German medicines instead. It's made it really easy.
Wonderful answers. My gosh, you guys had some great questions here. There's one more though. Which mineral deficiencies are most concerning related to viruses?
Selenium and D3 and vitamin C.
So selenium and D3, and I'm sorry, I didn't get the other one.
And vitamin C.
And vitamin C.
This is all, your susceptibility or your sluggish immune system is all tied in with your lifestyle. Okay? I mean, I'm almost 68 years old, and I started running again a few weeks ago. I run, I walk my dogs, I'm outside, I make myself spend most of my time outside because that is how you're going to get better. Being inside, houses are full of mold. Houses are full of particles that are stale, stagnant air. We need to be out in the fresh air. And you need to do exercises to expel, to exhale, properly exhale, to get all those toxins out.
Dr. Lapearla, Lainey was asking, how much vitamin C should we be taking?
How much vitamin C?
Yes.
Well, you usually take things like that until to bowel tolerance, right?
Yes.
Bowel tolerance.
If you're taking vitamin C supplements, but I mean, ideally you're eating vegetables, right? Bell peppers, and fruit. Just every vegetable is just full of that. And that's what we really need. Remember, we cannot produce our own chlorophyll, so we should be eating a diet that is rich in chlorophyll, and that's only plants. We don't want secondhand protein from meat and animal products.
Dr. Lapearla, do you mind, if we have some of our friends here send you some messages? I know we're already a little beyond 8:30, but I think you just got a whole group of new friends and family across the country who would like to send you some questions.
Okay, sure. I'm sure happy to do that.
So guys, you have P. Lapearla at AOL.com. Dr. Lapearla will be glad to answer more of your questions, and we're just so grateful we had her this week. And if you're wondering what's going on for Mother's Day next Sunday, we will be visited by Dr. Daniel Mann. He is the plastic surgeon that does minimally invasive procedures with the most natural touch and lymphatic regard. So he'll be joining us from Boca Raton next Sunday too. And of course, we hope Dr. Lapearla will join us back on Sunday, because we love having everybody's input, and we just can't thank you enough, Dr. Lapearla, for taking your time. And if you have anything you want to share with us too, if you have any flyers and things so we can stay in touch with you. We'll put it up on our Facebook page at MLD Institute International so that we stay posted with your special speaking engagement.
Say that Facebook page again, please.
Pardon?
Your Facebook. Say that again.
It's MLD, like Manual Lymph Drainage, Institute International. And we'd love to have you come on over there, Maurice. I think you'll love it. There's lots of research, before and after photos and all of that. And Dr. Lapearla, you wanted to share everybody your last thoughts.
Well, I'll give you my website so that you can read about my immunology research. Just remember this. There is only one thing that can ever save you from any disturbance in the laws of nature. I want you to remember that the laws of nature are orderly. You plant a peach tree, you can count on getting peaches. You're never going to get watermelons from that peach tree. And viruses grow through this developmental wave. We cannot close down our lives every time. You know, it's like a hurricane. When there's hurricane season, there's viral season. And when there's a hurricane, we make some changes, but we don't shut down all our businesses and go into lockdown. This to me is Keystone Cops. This is the dark ages of medicine. This is people that do not understand boo turkey about the immune system or how, you know, life on this planet should be lived in proper balance with the laws of nature. So let me give you my website. It is called Viron Pearl Biotech. And
What?
Say that again.
RonPearlBiotech.com. There you can read about our primitive immune system and how all we really have to do is make sure that our primitive immune system is activated, and you will live long and you will not have any degenerative or metabolic disorders.
Okay, and you know what? I think I found it, so I'm going to attempt here, guys, to pull that up for you so you see her site. Is it with the green Lotus?
Yeah, that must be it.
Yes, so if you go to Lotus Apothecary, there's a little medallion that says Project Alleviate. Click on that because I had to hide my real website. So my real website is the immunology research in Germany.
Oh, so that's it right there. Oh, wow, this is like, super spy stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
Click on the button. There it is.
What,
Whoa.
Oh, guys, I love
what do you
it.
have to click on?
We've gone James Bond here. I love it.
Yeah.
Did I tell you that a tracker was found under my car last August? I mean, I have been through genuine espionage and intrigue with these discoveries. And so, I'm getting my second wind, and I'm ready now to, maybe under this new president, allowed it to where we have the right to try. And he's fast tracking, medicines, and so I'm going to see what I can do about bringing my research here and making your video.
This is so wonderful. We are, we got so many thank yous. It's just all over here. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you from everyone. And
I have one quick story about someone that was meditated and did everything right and thought, I'm just going to live forever. And when he was 85, he said, I'm brimming with enthusiasm to do what I need to do and things like that. So then he finally died. Somebody called up and asked for him. And they said, I'm sorry, he passed. He said, well, you can't tell me he died of anything bad.
wow.
So try not to die of anything bad.
I love it. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. And we look forward, Dr. Lapearla, we will have you back too when we're talking with Teresa and the horses.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. And thank you so much for your openness and your willingness to learn. You know, it's your willingness to learn, and we could be just like Mucor. It is his willingness to change that is allowing him to survive. And so if you're willing to change and learn these things, wow, you just have the future in front of you of good health.
Amen. I second that motion. We're all willing to learn.
What was the,
Enjoy good health. Thank you so much for this evening.
Okay, Dr. Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
thank you. What was the website, Apothecary or the Ron, I think she said Lapearla Biotech? I was a little confused there.
So,
Lotus Apothecary.
yeah,
Lotus
com.
Apothecary? Okay.
Apothecary, and then you click.
And then you click on that. Oh, go ahead.
And, yeah, so would I.
Okay.
Click on the Lotus, and it takes you in her deeper website of research.
Okay, I got lost. Okay, thanks.
It's like a hidden door on her website.
Okay, thank you.
Give the other website though of what she was saying, the biotech.com, something Pearl. I was trying to catch it too.
Yeah, that's what I was asking about. Yeah.
I can pull it back up. Let me share this screen, and I'll pull it up so you guys see it again. That way you know you're there. This is her site. That's it.
I was having problems getting into to see the website, see online.
So this is what the front page looks like. Lotus Apothecary. And then where it says Project Alleviate, you click there, and that takes you into her research.
Oh, okay. But
So-
what was the Ron one? She said RON, Lapearla Biotech. What was that?
Right.
You know what? When I pulled it up, it brought it up as Lotus Apothecary.
Oh, it did. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it did. Yeah. And then she said, click on
You can
the,
probably email her too at her AOL and we'll ask her about that Pearl address, what that was. No one seemed to have gotten it either.
Okay, so Lotus Apothecary.
I have a question.
yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me? So I know she wasn't a big fan of the mask, and if and when we all can start massage and do MLD, how do you suggest we protect ourselves, or at least appear that we're protective to our clients?
Yeah.
No, that's the question everyone's been asking, because on both sides of the table, you got the group that says if you wear the mask, it's not so much that you're going to give it to someone, it's, you know, to cover your mouth. So the thing is, right now in my mind, I'm personally not doing lymphatic drainage. I'm not doing massage. I'm not going to do it for at least 2 more months.
Yeah,
Because
same.
I want to see, I agree with her in that we got a lot of people trying to tell us what to do and what not to do that they themselves don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a fan of doing it to yourself right now, doing self MLD. That's why we've been practicing this for the time being until we know. Right now, I just saw a lot of people come out. And the thing is, it's not even that they come out. I agree we need fresh air. But the problem is they're not social distancing.
Yeah.
In Michigan, if you watch them, it's a herd mentality. And guess what? Our numbers have gone back up.
Right.
So,
Right.
I'm afraid it's going to get worse in the winter.
Yeah.
Like
but
when-
I can tell you something, and I wanted Dr. Mann to share this with us next week, but I'll give you a little preview. What he's doing for his practice as it starts to slowly open is he'll have no more than 4 patients in his facility at a time. He will allow them to drive up to his facility, and the patient will call in so that they make sure that they don't have that many. So like going to a typical physician's office where you got 20, 30, 40 people sitting there, it won't be that way. So he'll have up to 4 because he has 4 rooms, and then they'll be changing out their garments and everything. And sanitation procedures will be prior to and right after each appointment. So he already gave them, you know, the heads up. It's going to take a little bit longer at each appointment because we got to do our due diligence. He has a whole list. And I think he's taken a very safe, a really good approach if someone was going to open a door. I'd like to see maybe that the massage establishments would follow too. But I want to let him tell you about it, how he came up with that as a physician. Yeah. But those are great questions. Like I said, one thing I don't want to do, I don't want to give you answers just to give you an answer. I want to make sure that we're
You
getting.
want to see what, right?
Because I've seen it. I'm just being honest with you, transparent. I'm very frustrated when I go online and I see a lot of leaders in the industry and they're all fighting about things. I'm like, that's not the right way to do it. If we're medical professionals, why don't we seek help from those who are in the medical profession? Let's do a 360 roundtable and find out what's working in areas and use that as a model. But right now, so far, I see Dr. Mann doing one of the best models I can see at this point. But it's going to take a few weeks. It's going to take a few weeks for us to actually see, is this working or isn't it?
Right, right.
Elise, did I miss the class on scars, or is that coming up?
You know what? We did do the one on scars, but you know what? I think, Lainey, are you here, honey? It's okay. I'm going to give you Lainey. Lainey, instructor Lainey was here. She was the one that helped us with scars from MPS. We will also be having one that has MPS with aromatherapy coming on. That's with John Romano. He's a former FSMTA vice president. He is also an herbologist, and he has, I don't know, I'm trying to remember if he's got 2 or 3 orchids now named after him because he's an award-winning orchid grower. He was born and raised in Pennsylvania on organic farms.
Wow.
And so he spent the past 35 years of his practice developing aromatherapy blends that even Massage Warehouse and places like Whole Foods had wanted to purchase from him in private label. So if you love aromatherapy, he's your go-to man.
Who is that?
What was his name?
His name is John
Romano.
You can even look him up right now on Facebook, John Romano. You'll see him on my Facebook page. Just friend him. If you have questions between now and then, he'll be glad to answer them.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, he does MPS for scar tissue, but they combined it with his essential oil blend, the Lympho Breathe. And when they used it in the White House, the senators were getting a far faster, better result with the MLD utilizing his essential oil blend.
Oh.
Because they got to get, a lot of them are seniors and they got to fly, and they were having challenges with all that edema in their lower extremities, and they need something done quickly and safely.
What does the MPS stand for?
That is a
Microcurrent.
Yeah, it's a microcurrent system.
The Dolphin. Yeah.
Yeah, the Dolphin 2 units that they use. You can look up MPS Dolphin. It will show you what they look like. But I promise you, we're going to have more on MPS.
Oh, good.
But
It's microcurrent point stimulation. Been doing it for about 5 years. It works great. You should learn it.
You do it?
Yeah. I can do
There's something every day. There's so many things we want to do, but you know what we have coming up this month? We have a little mini series with Dr. Mann, because believe it or not, we've got a lot of therapists who actually have a full waiting schedule. People are going to have plastic surgery. They delayed it through this crisis, but they're already booking appointments in the next month or 2 for MLD. Now, in my mind, I go, would I do that? I personally won't, but somebody else will. And the thing is, we've got this backlog that when the doors open, there are therapists waiting to work with plastic surgery patients. And we've been wanting to do this for a while. Dr. Mann has been so good. He wants to help us better understand what those procedures really look like. Tummy tuck, Brazilian butt lift, breast augmentation, things we should be cautious and aware of. There's all kinds of things. I know, Anselmo, you're laughing, but there's a difference between good surgery and bad surgery, and the practitioners are facing all those challenges. And we're going to have him on. Teresa's going to be back. Teresa, that you heard earlier, our First Lady of Lymph for Horses, will be on with us. Are you here, Teresa?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so she has lovely work. I call her the First Lady because she actually has the blessings of Germany to teach the lymphatic program in the growing industry too. And hey, if you guys have ideas too, in the meantime, we don't want to leave you out of this. If you have some thoughts, some people you'd like to see or questions you have, you let us know and then we can get the right people on. But I know that we've got at least 52 great things coming at you. And we hope you're enjoying it and invite your friends.
Anselmo, I just wanted to know where Anselmo was located.
I'm in Hudson, Florida.
Oh, okay. Too far.
How about you?
I'm in New Jersey.
I used to live in Elizabeth, New Jersey.
Oh, okay. I'm about half an hour away. Near Paramus.
This is a Jersey boy, and we got him down in Florida.
Yeah, it's my mother-in-law's fault. She was sick.
Furthest. Who came from the furthest?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, last week we had a Panama.
Wow.
Yes. I'll tell you what, when we're all out and we're finally free, we have to take a group vacation together. I think I want to go to the Virgin Islands. Anyone want to go to the Virgin Islands?
Yes.
Nice.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. We were there about 7 months ago, and they've been wanting, just so you know, it's in the plans when all clear comes. But we have a group of American therapists in the American Virgin Islands, and we train them in MLD. And guys, they would really appreciate our support. And I also know that Puerto Rico is only a boat ride away. It's not that far from the U.S. Virgin Islands, and those therapists really could use our support. They went through hurricanes and earthquakes before this stuff even happened. And I think they'd love to see our faces, those who could go. So we're planning some special things there too. So in the meantime, we want you to lymph, we want you to laugh, we want you to love and hug your pets and your family. And feel free, send us some messages and we'll make sure that we keep you up to date Sunday to Sunday. But next week it's plastic surgery.
All right.
Awesome. Sounds good. Good night.
Good night, Louise.
Bye-bye.
Good night.
Much love.
Nice meeting you.
You too.
Good night,
Bye.
Teresa.
Good night.
Oh, thank you so
Lisa.
much. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night, John boy.